Hi everybody, my name is John Nedick, and I'd like to welcome you to the Collecting Canadian Cavalry and Armour YouTube channel. The whole reason I'm starting this is because I found that there's very little YouTube information on collecting Canadian military stuff. We have a rich history, and I'd just like to share that not only with collectors, but also with anybody else with an interest. So the whole idea behind this page is that you'll get an opportunity to see different things out of my own collection. 99% of the content will be my own collection. And that way you can see the wide variety of collectibles when we're talking about Canadian Cavalry and Armour. Bit of a background on myself. I spent just over 31 years in the Canadian Army Reserve, most of which was in the Windsor Regiment, which is probably why I'm more interested in collecting the Cavalry and Armour stuff. During my time there, I spent lots of time taking courses, but also did 3 tours overseas, so I kind of have an idea what's going on when these guys take off to war, and then you see some of this stuff in collections, what it really means. One of the things that I want to do here in this first episode is cover reference material. I had an old friend of mine years ago when I first got started doing this, that good reference material is worth its weight in gold. Many of these badges, uniforms, helmets, and things can be worth a heck of a lot of money. And the last thing you want to do is drop several hundred or $1,000 on a piece for your collection only to find out it's a reproduction. That's a real kick in the wallet, and one that I'm sure nobody wants to experience. So that's why this first episode, we're going to kick right off with reference material. So, reference books. Let me show you the stuff that I like to use for my own reference. This first one here is the Canadian Militia Badges by Daniel Mazias. It's a wonderful book. There's lots of illustrations inside of all of the badges that pertain to the militia period. Now, in regards to the militia period, that is from the mid-1800s to 1920, excluding the First World War Canadian Expeditionary Force badges. Lots and lots of good reference material in here. Definitely worth picking up for your collection. Now, speaking of Expeditionary Force badges, when we first started collecting, this was the book right here. It's Leonard Babin's book on Canadian Expeditionary Force badges, but the problem with it is it had very small little hand drawings of all the different badges that were known at the time. Since then, there's been some other great books. The one that I like to use for First World War badges is a Charlton Standard Catalog of First World War Canadian Corps badges. Inside here is lots of photos of Canadian Cavalry stuff. It's got some information on the regiments. Really good book. Part 1 of the catalog is all infantry badges, so we're not going to touch on that. Getting into the Second World War, we had Daniel Mazias' other book. And again, a lot of hand drawing on the of the badges, collar badges, some metal shoulder titles, that type of thing. And again, it only showed one view. Now, since that time, Chris Brooker, who's been involved with Canadian badges forever, it seems like, wrote an exhaustive 7-volume book on Canadian badges from 1920 up until unification. Fabulous books. Inside, they cover lots of photos, front and back of the badges, so that you know where to look for maker marks and that type of thing. He touches on the metal shoulder titles and collar badges. Definitely worth picking up all 7 volumes. Now, getting into some of the other lesser collected items, Darby Whitebone came out with these series of books, small called the Sergeant Major's Book of Badges. And this first one here is dealing with Second World War slip-on shoulder titles that were used on the battle dress. This stuff will be the subject of episode number 2. Fabulous book. Inside, he actually has photographs of all the different slip-ons. So it makes a wonderful checklist book. Now we'll get into the checklist book in a second here. Now, did one on metal shoulder titles, Canadian cloth titles. This is from 1967 to present. And he also did one from 1900 to 1967. Now, he also came out with stuff on the old combat shoulder titles. Again, fabulous work dealing with the Armored Corps, with everybody, but it even includes the old combat hat badges. Another fabulous book for reference to as a checklist, because as you collect stuff, you check off what you got. That way you're not buying 2 or 3 of the same badge. Sometimes we do that. And then he came out with the new Arid and Temperate CAD Pat, as well as the high vis stuff. Fabulous books. Fabulous books. Now, on the subject of Canadian cloth, this book right here, The Fabric of War, written by my friend Bill Alexander. Fabulous book. This, Bill did a wonderful job. Years of research. He covers stuff from the First World War through to the slip-ons, cloth shoulder stuff. If you're going to collect Canadian cloth, my friends, this is the book. And no, I'm not getting a kickback from Bill, but I'm just telling you, because I want to make sure that you guys get the good information right here. Perfect reference book. Thank you, Bill, for all your work doing this. Now, if you want to get into headdress, this book here by the late Clive M. Law, called Fuss and Fashion. Fabulous book. He covers stuff back early Shakos from the mid-1800s. He gets into the different colored forge caps, pith helmets, busbies, and then he also has a part on one of my favorites, the brass dragoon helmets. You'll see some of these out of my collection later on in the different episodes. Fabulous book. Fabulous. Lots of research in here. Definitely worth the money. Speaking of Clive, him and Jim Bolton did this on the colored field service caps. Lots of history on the cap and the different regiments that wore them. Again, several armored regiments did have them, so if you're going to collect headdress, this is another good book for you. Now, Clive also, the guy was a wonderful source of information. Great guy. Anyway, Scarlet to Khaki. If you're going to collect uniforms, good book. I'm telling you, he covers, not just Cavalry and Armour, but that's what we're concentrating on. But lots of different items in here. Shows you the different facings, what regiments use different colored facings and that type of thing. Again, fabulous book if you're going to collect uniforms. Well worth the money. Well worth the money. Now, one thing that I did, and this is just something I would suggest to you, is I came up with my own checklist book. Okay? I take this to every badge show, gun and knife show that I go to looking for badges, and what I did is I photocopied several pages out of many of these reference books and put them into one book. The reason I did that is because, and this is a good thing to, good problem to have, is you get so much stuff in your collection, you won't remember what you have. So instead of dropping a couple $100 for a badge and you get home to put it in your collection, go, I already have it. It's a good idea to keep a checklist book. Now, for those younger folks, younger than me, who are happy being online, there's lots of really, really good websites that you can go to. Facebook, if you're into Facebook still, from what I understand from my son, that's kind of passé, but still, there's some great pages on there. Let's go on there. There's collector club pages. There's the Canadian Society of Military Medals and Insignia, CSMMI. We have the Canadian Military Collectors Club. Those are both clubs that you can join, but they also have Facebook pages. There's the Facebook Society of Canadian Military Preservation, and there's a good one on identifying reproduction badges. Just go ahead and do some searches. You'll find some great information on there too. One other website that's very good is called CanadianSoldiers.com. Tons of information on there, and I'll put, we'll make sure that we have the links to those in the comments below. So thank you very much. This is our, like I said, was our first episode. We plan on putting out one every week. We're going to try to keep it around 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less. We're going to cover all kinds of stuff. So come on back, visit us, and you're going to see some stuff that maybe a lot of people don't even think about collecting. So some of the really strange stuff, reunion items, drinkware, jewelry, lots of stuff. So come on back and visit, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully leave some positive comments in the space below. Have a great day.